Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a view of cancer that's literally thousands of years old. But what's incredible is how it describes concepts we talk about today, like metastasis and recurrence, with amazing detail. We're diving deep into the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda.
So let's kick things off with a question that kind of flips our modern understanding of cancer on its head. What if the real problem isn't just the tumor itself, but the entire internal environment of the body that allowed it to grow in the first place?
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with those ancient descriptions, then cover the core principles, the doshas. We'll define some key terms, see how tumors were classified, and then explore the holistic approach to healing and what it all means for us today.
First up, that ancient view. The word cancer itself is obviously pretty new, but the idea of abnormal growths, not at all. In fact, ancient Ayurvedic texts describe conditions that sound remarkably similar to what we now call cancer. And the whole idea here, the really big concept, is that these conditions weren't just seen as random bad luck. They were understood to be a direct result of our lifestyle, what we eat, how we live, causing this deep, fundamental imbalance in the body's core energies.
Okay, so to really get how Ayurveda looks at any disease, we first have to get our heads around its most foundational concept, the three doshas.
You can almost think of them as your body's internal operating system. They're these three primary forces that regulate basically everything, from your digestion to how your cells divide. When they're all in harmony, you've got health. When they're out of whack, well, that's where disease starts.
So check this out. This breakdown shows how each dosha is believed to play a specific role. Vata, the energy of movement, is seen as the driver, the force behind faulty cell division and the spread of the disease. Pitta, the metabolic fire, is linked to that super high metabolic rate you see in cancer cells. And Kapha, the energy of structure, is connected to the physical growth, the actual bulk of the tumor. You see, this is a huge shift in perspective, right? Instead of just zooming in on the rogue cell, this framework looks at the underlying forces in the body that let the disease take hold and progress. So, building on that idea, Ayurveda uses two really important terms to differentiate between types of growths. And it creates a distinction that sounds a lot like our modern way of thinking about benign versus malignant. Yeah, so this is the key difference right here. A grunthi is seen as a minor issue, something more localized, maybe benign, or just inflammatory. But in Arbuda, well, that's considered a major neoplasm. It's the term that gets closest to describing a malignant condition, something deep-rooted, stubborn, and much more serious. But it doesn't just stop at a simple definition. It actually gets way more detailed. Ayurveda developed this surprisingly complex system for classifying arbuda, or tumors, from a bunch of different angles. So one way they classify them is by looking at which of the three doshas is the most out of whack. The most serious diagnosis is something called tridosheja, and that's when all three doshas have basically gone haywire, leading to a much more complex and aggressive disease.
And they don't stop there either. Tumors are also categorized by the primary body tissue, or dhatu, that's being affected. Dhatus are the body's foundational tissues, so this tells you if the growth is mainly in the blood, the muscle, or in fatty tissues.
Okay, and this is where the ancient texts get, incredibly specific. They describe a concept called adyarbuda, which is when a new tumor grows in the exact same spot as an old one. I mean, that sounds strikingly similar to what we call local recurrence today. And then there's this, Dwyer-Buddha. This describes a condition where multiple tumors pop up in different parts of the body, one after the other. It's pretty much a clear, ancient description of metastasis. It's wild to think about. Okay, so the whole idea is about this deep imbalance. How does Ayurveda even begin to approach healing? Well, the focus isn't just on attacking the tumor. It's about restoring balance to the entire system, using this really multifaceted approach. The whole treatment is built on these four pillars. You've got Rasayana, which is all about rejuvenation using herbs, Panchakarma for detoxification, Shaman Chikitsa for palliative care to help manage everything, and maybe most importantly, Sattva Jai Chikitsa, which focuses directly on mental and emotional well-being. And you'll probably recognize some of these herbs. I mean, turmeric, ashwagandha, they've been used in these Rasayana therapies for centuries. What's so fascinating is that modern science is now really starting to study them for their antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, and immune-boosting properties. Now, this is a really, really important point. This whole approach is framed as being complementary, not as an alternative. It's meant to be used alongside modern treatments.
as an adjuvant therapy to support patients, help improve their quality of life, and hopefully reduce some of those debilitating side effects from things like chemo and radiation.
So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? What can this ancient perspective really offer us in our super high-tech modern world? And this quote, it just nails the whole goal of this integrative view. It's not about throwing one system out for another. It's about using this ancient wisdom to improve a patient's overall well-being and make them more resilient during what is an incredibly difficult journey. So that leaves us with this final question to chew on. What if, by looking at health through both of these lenses, the microscopic, cellular one, and the holistic, systemic one, we could actually open up new pathways for a more supportive, more humane future for patient care?